My beloved, do you think it's an accident that you're hearing my voice right now? No. Heaven planned this moment long before you took your first breath. Here on Holy Voices, we share the whispers of eternity, the messages that change hearts and awaken destinies. If your soul is ready, stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the very word your spirit has been waiting for. Romans 10 verse 17 says, "Faith comes by hearing." Subscribe to Holy Voices and help 40,000 more people hear. The spiritual realm just exploded something so explosive about you, chosen one, that others are still reeling from the shock. According to divine truth, when someone incites this degree of emotional turmoil without even being there, they have a frequency that functions outside the realm of typical human impact. This was not a haphazard altercation between two individuals. It was a spiritual battle over the falsehoods they had been spreading about their true feelings for you. Fists flew and masks were destroyed in an explosive battle arranged by the universe. All because neither of them could keep acting as though your presence didn't have a profound, lasting, and strong impact on them every single day. Without doing anything or even being present when the explosion occurred, you set off this whole epiphany. People were actually fighting over the reality about your supernatural impact that they could no longer deny because your energy signature had risen to such enormous heights. You'll see why your very presence has turned into the unstoppable force that lights fires in people who believed they had everything under control by the time this realization fully plays out. Imagine that you are lightning locked in a container that has just been uncorked. Furthermore, the ensuing electrical storm was unavoidable. Tension had been accumulating around your presence for long stretches of time, like pressure in a fault line, poised to rupture the ground. It wasn't just any social awkwardness, though. On invisible battlefields, spiritual warfare was being fought. And you were the object of everyone's struggle to either destroy or claim. You had been gradually raising your frequency to the point where it hurt people's bodies to keep lying comfortably around you. Others shrank from light that revealed aspects of themselves that had been decaying in darkness, while others were pulled to your light like junkies to their next drug. Through a series of seemingly random events, the universe had been carefully sorting everyone in your orbit, picking the wheat from the chaff. Like bubbles in boiling water, little betrayals came to the surface. Just out of earshot, whispered conversations took place, but your name was like smoke signals declaring war, floating through the air. Loyalty changed as quickly as sand in an hourglass, exposing the dishonest people and the Oscar-worthy liars. The fact that you maintain your composure throughout it all and proceed with the serene assurance of someone who understands that truth always finds its way to the surface is what makes this so mind-bending. You strode with divine assurance while others frantically tried to contain damage that hadn't even fully materialized. This was not an accident that happened at random. You had already won before the first blow ever touched flesh, and this was cosmic orchestration. Nothing destined to remain buried could now lie in darkness thanks to the global web, which turned into heaven's weapon of mass exposure. Screenshots began spreading like wildfire, devouring drywood in networks. Overnight, private messages were made public. Confidential chats ended up reaching the same individuals they were intended to keep out. However, social media algorithms weren't the only thing causing this haphazard digital mayhem. Every screenshot that came to light had conversations that individuals had been having behind closed doors regarding your success, influence, and character. Voice messages were inadvertently delivered to the incorrect groups, exposing contentious discussions regarding your deservingness of the possibilities that are presented to you. Email chains that were accidentally forwarded to the wrong people revealed complex conversations about how to deal with your increasing visibility in their social circles. Group chats, which many believed to be safe havens for their actual emotions, were the source of the most heartbreaking discovery. These online environments had turned into labs where every conversation was examined, every word you spoke was scrutinized, and the origin of your innate charm was continuously discussed. People were saving screenshots of your accomplishments and examining your tactics like pupils studying masters, according to several messages that showed admiration so great it almost amounted to addiction. Others revealed animosity so intense that it had dominated their thoughts for whole seasons, resulting in intricate fantasies about watching you fail or lose favor. With celebrations for your failures and attempts to downplay your successes through skillfully prepared group debates that made jealousy feel legitimate and righteous, Your growth was being monitored like the moves of the stock market. Consider this revelation campaign's surgical accuracy. The right individuals received the appropriate messages at the right time. Screenshots appearing when exposure of this kind would have the most disastrous effect. Talks that were being overheard by the people who needed to hear them the most. Coordination at this level is not something that just happens. In order to guarantee that truth defeats deceit, divine intervention is using every channel at its disposal. The trail created by the digital breadcrumbs led straight back to you. Your energy had grown so strong that it was literally changing the information environment around you, not because you were fabricating drama. People were always discussing and studying you in an attempt to figure out what was causing them to become distracted. You weren't even aware that there were conversations about you, but your presence had taken center stage. At the same time, two people who had been bearing the unconscionable burden of their deceit about you finally snapped. The falsehoods that each had been telling themselves about their intentions, feelings, respect, or lack thereof, became too great to bear for another moment until their psychological underpinnings gave way. One had been seeming to be completely unconcerned, but in reality, they were burning with such a deep adoration that they were up at night, gazing at ceilings and thinking about your achievement. The other had been publicly displaying allegiance while carrying a deep-seated grudge that tainted every conversation. Every forced chat and every grin persisted in your presence. Spiritual laws governing true energy dictated that these opposing forces of falsehood would inevitably collide. Both of them had been compelled by your presence to face aspects of themselves that they would like to ignore in their meticulously created fantasy worlds. Each time they saw your genuine success, it brought to light how phony their own accomplishments, which were based on deceit and manipulation, were. Every sincere connection you formed with them revealed the transactional character of the bonds they had all spent a great deal of time growing like deadly plants. For anyone working in deceit, the psychological pressure you imposed just by being genuine was getting intolerable. You were becoming so frequent that it was getting harder for you to tell lies. Where wearing masks made of burning coal began to seem like wearing phony smiles. Their final, last-ditch effort to release this spiritual strain before it ruined them from the inside out was the battle. Suppressed energy does not simply evaporate into the night like a soft wind once it reaches critical mass. Everything in its path is reshaped as it erupts with volcanic force. And when these two eventually exploded, that's exactly what occurred. Imagine hands squeezed into weapons of truth delivery, faces twisted with feelings both parties had been denying, and muscles coiled with banked wrath. Witnesses would never forget the moment of complete clarity that preceded that initial swing connecting. Long stretches of fictitious encounters illuminated gloomy landscapes, flashing through the air like lightning, making time seem to stop. This one moment of realization crystallized every false grin you've received, every time tongues have been bitten rather than spoken, and every night spent returning home and whining about you in front of empty rooms and mirrors. The first individual had been carrying a secret so heavy that every time they breathed in your company, it crushed their chest. You were simply another individual with excellent fortune and convenient timing, according to everyone who would listen. Screams about how unfair life was, how you got everything handed to you, and how twice as much labor generated half the recognition would reverberate into driving wheels as people saw you succeed again while alone in automobiles. The second individual had been engaged in an entirely different activity, pretending to be your ally while surreptitiously recording every error you made and every flaw that might be used against you in the future. Careful observation and strategic memory collecting were being used to build a case against your character, waiting for the right moment to show it to mutual contacts who could begin to doubt your sincerity. It wasn't only flesh and bone that the initial swing struck. It destroyed the meticulously crafted story that they had been breathing, living, and defending as if upholding these complex lies were essential to their survival. Every phony smile you've been offered. Every compelled dialogue went on. This cataclysmic revelation had been the direct result of every performative moment of normalcy surrounding your presence. Words began to flow like water through shattered dams between fists. Confessions about your true feelings regarding your accomplishments, your innate talent for interpersonal connection, and your effortless ability to make others feel appreciated and seen. In an attempt to figure out the secret recipe that made you so alluring to others, admissions began to examine your social media posts like research papers. One yelled at you for making things seem so simple when they still struggled with everyday encounters. The other person screamed that you made them feel inconsequential and little, like supporting players in a story where you were always the main character receiving all the praise. The surface issue that started this fight was never the point. This was about the total incapacity to keep acting as though you don't have a profound, lasting, and powerful impact on them every single day. You are obliged to exist in your orbit. The frequencies at which your energy has attained rendered their deceit physically impossible to sustain without causing real suffering. The true insight started to surface in the quiet that followed the storm, resembling survivors emerging from spiritual rubble. Hands shaking, they made phone calls. Hearts thumping against rib cages, messages were transmitted. As you bless holy voices, God blesses your house. Sow $20 or more today and expect His favor. People came out to tell you what was truly felt, thought, and talked about you for long periods of time behind closed doors. Witnesses to this explosion were unable to remain silent about what they had just witnessed. Word of the unvarnished honesty that had exploded between those blows spread like wildfire through every circle you had ever been a part of. Individuals who had been ignoring their own deceit were suddenly compelled to consider how they truly felt about you. Someone called you right away. The urgency of admissions that could not wait any longer made the voices tremble. Discussions about you were allowed in coffee shops and parking lots, along with analyses of your achievements and an effort to identify character defects that would make personal stagnation seem more acceptable. At midnight, some sent lengthy notes, scribbling furiously as they cleared their minds of the thoughts that had accumulated regarding your influence on their life. For the first time in their pitiful existence, everyone had been allowed to talk honestly because of the struggle. And what poured forth was completely transforming and enlightening. You found that your impact had been much more than you had anticipated. There had been discussions about you in places you were unaware of. People were scrutinizing your every action and analyzing your choices like a sacred text. After witnessing your success in previously unthinkable ways, some acknowledged that they had changed their career trajectories. Others admitted to breaking up with their partners because they brought up memories of you, which triggered emotions they weren't prepared to face. Individuals had been reorganizing their entire social networks in an attempt to either distance themselves from the awkwardness of comparison or become more like your energy. Before meeting you, they had never questioned their core beliefs about success, authenticity, and personal power, but your presence had been compelling them to do so. Some had entered therapy expressly to go through their complicated emotions regarding your impact on their perspective. Others had completely changed their social circles or relocated to a different place because they were too conscious of their own anxieties and limitations when they were near you. Those who had been surreptitiously recording your life, like devoted scholars, made the most catastrophic revelations. In an effort to figure out what set you apart from the others, thorough records of your accomplishments, interactions, and reactions to various circumstances had been maintained. Some had developed complex theories about your upbringing, relationships, and strategies in a frantic attempt to find explanations that would lessen the threat that your success posed to their own sense of possibilities. As though floodlights had been switched on in a dark theater, the actual roles that people played in your life became glaringly obvious. With fresh devotion blazing in their eyes like holy fires, those who had been true supporters came forward. Those who had been quietly undermining you either vanished completely into the shadows or suddenly became anxious to mend bridges that had been burning silently while you continued to smile. For the first time, the psychological battle that had been fought against you was made glaringly obvious. Tries to undermine your self-esteem by making subtle remarks that seem worried. Attempts to socially isolate you by means of calculated exclusions cloaked in fictitious justifications. Techniques that use well-placed doubts from people you can trust to cause you to doubt your own strength. Now, however, you could see the planning that went into every seemingly innocuous slight, every practical miscommunication, and every chance that eerily vanished just before you could take advantage of it. Once the curtain was raised, it became clear that there was a concerted attempt to control your impact before it became too great for them to contain or control. The message that follows is intended only for the selected. This is not for you if you are compromised by archonic powers, and we give you permission to leave based on the spiritual authority that the Holy Voice's inner order's secret leaders have given us. If not, Take a seat and pay close attention. Because just as we are redeemed, you will also be redeemed. There is no program for the Holy Voices inner order. It's not a class. It's not a spiritual retreat that makes you feel good. Answers are not what we sell. Together, we recall. We teach interference, implants, genuine energetic shielding against beings, and psychic self-defense. We bring back the raw, instantaneous, and precise manifestation that was intended. We meet in secret once a week to awaken, not to worship. To express what cannot be expressed elsewhere. For the matrix is deprogrammed. Layer by layer. If you're supposed to be there, you'll know it. Your bones will sense it. The selected group meets via Zoom once a week. Why don't you join us already? Do you have drenosis? Join the inner order of Holy Voices. The description contains a link. The fact that this was more than just interpersonal turmoil between people became undeniable. This was heavenly orchestration working through human beings to accomplish a cosmic goal that was far more important than self-justification. For long stretches, the universe had been putting the pieces in place, creating conditions that would compel everyone to simultaneously unveil their actual selves under duress. The altercation was the culmination of a scheme to poison your surroundings by separating genuine relationships from poisonous bonds. Every connection was being put to the ultimate test to see if it was based on a true foundation or on convenient lies that would fall apart under close inspection. Your social network was undergoing surgery from the universe, which methodically eliminated harmful components. However, proof of something considerably more structured and dangerous than anyone had expected surfaced from the turmoil. The two individuals who got into a fight hadn't been lying about you on their own. Both had been a part of a wider network of people who, like a shadow cabinet handling a challenge to their established order, had been organizing their reactions to your increasing influence. Your name was the main topic on the agenda in secret meetings that had been taking place in places you never would have imagined. These were neither idle chats or harmless gossip sessions. During these strategic planning sessions, participants talked about how to reduce your opportunities, undermine your reputation, and divert attention from your accomplishments before they could cause others to question the status quo. These folks had put in a lot of effort to keep up. The level of intricacy and scale of the coordination was astounding. You were taking turns acting out various parts of your life, much like actors in a well-rehearsed play. Some would pretend to be your buddies in order to learn more about your vulnerabilities and plans, while propagating well-designed worries about your character to shared acquaintances who might be becoming overly inspired by your example. Others would keep a strategic distance. The most unsettling realization was how deliberate exclusions and inclusions had been used to control the social dynamics around you. Depending on whether your presence will further their goals, invitations would either be extended or canceled. Events would be planned around your conflicts, so you wouldn't be able to attend events where you could potentially make valuable contacts. Discussions would be diverted from areas where you could excel and instead focused on areas where others could prove their superiority. As the shadows were burned away by daylight, the entire extent of concerted opposition became apparent. The altercation had revealed more than personal lies. It had exposed a whole network of individuals who had been conspiring to control your power, much like dishonest politicians tampering with elections. Leaked group chats revealed in-depth conversations about how to deal with your growing success before it jeopardizes your jobs. Every effort to undermine you had simply strengthened your resolve and helped you define your objective with razor-sharp clarity. The opposition you encountered wasn't due to chance or personal shortcomings. Opposition to the light you bear was specifically targeted. And it was incredibly freeing to realize this difference. Rather of serving as proof of your incompetence, the difficulties you faced served as validation of your chosen status. The cosmos had been utilizing their opposition as spiritual training, pushing you to new heights you were unaware of and building your divine muscles via adversity like a cosmic personal trainer. More than any meditation retreat could ever teach you, every untruth told about you taught you to believe your own reality. Like light dispelling darkness without conscious effort, your frequency works on levels that break illusion whenever it comes into contact with deceit. You are not just picked. You act as a catalyst for others' decisions, making them choose between revealing their dedication to upholding cozy lies that keep them spiritually imprisoned or rising to meet your authenticity. It became evident that your presence had been upsetting social hierarchies that had been meticulously crafted. Those who had based their identity on being the most powerful person in the room were put in danger by your innate confidence. Your genuine success brought attention to how phony other people's accomplishments were. Your sincere interactions with others revealed the transactional character of the bonds that others had built. Just by being yourself, you had been unwittingly shattering illusions. Like a historical monument, the conflict became a turning point that people would talk about for a long time after it happened, signaling the end of one era and the start of another. It signaled the end of your ability to put up with narrow-mindedness and narrow vision, which had been stifling your potential like unseen bonds around your soul. It marked the start of your readiness to assert complete authority without seeking justification, apology, or consent from people who would never comprehend it in the first place. Every new subscriber is a victory. Be part of our 40,000 soul journey by subscribing to Holy Voices today. However, the change was much more profound than a shift in social standing or self-assurance. There was a fundamental change in the way reality was woven around you. As though the universe's reaction to your existence had been adjusted. Finally, there was no barrier preventing the energy that had been building pressure for so long from flowing freely. And anyone who paid attention could see the benefits right away. The most striking shift was how, without your conscious awareness, your very existence started to influence circumstances and surroundings. When you were involved, projects would proceed more smoothly. It seemed as though your higher frequency was improving everything it came into contact with and elevating the vibrational level of the area you were in. The way you started drawing fans and allies who functioned at your new frequency level, however, was arguably the most significant change. People began to appear out of nowhere. People who had been observing your travels and waiting for the ideal opportunity to express gratitude and provide assistance. These were genuine souls who understood the divine mission you carried and wished to help fulfill it, not fair-weather friends looking to associate with your success. Your intuition sharpened to the point where you could detect deceit and genuine intention with surgical accuracy. People could no longer use strategic acts or courteous masks to conceal their genuine feelings about you. You could quickly learn about their true motivations, their hidden worries, and their secret admiration or anger by reading their energy signatures, which became as legible as headlines. The psychological tricks that had previously tricked you were exposed and rendered useless. Within seconds of coming across complex deceptions, you were able to spot patterns of conduct that stood out like neon lights in the dark. With this new understanding, you were able to avoid squandering time and effort on individuals and circumstances that were meant to weaken rather than strengthen your authority. It completely changed the quality of your relationships. Surface-level relationships that couldn't survive in your high-energy atmosphere either developed into deep friendships or broke up completely. Those who were able to match your authenticity with their own were the ones who stuck by you, forging relationships based on respect for one another rather than expediency or ulterior motives. You were even shocked by the degree of your professional and creative output. Thoughts poured out like rivers over dams. Projects materialized with never-before-seen ease, and your innate skills grew beyond their prior bounds. It seemed as though the battle had cleared the energetic obstacles that had been preventing you from reaching your greatest potential, enabling your gifts to manifest naturally without hindrance or sabotage. Like players whose true selves were exposed behind stage masks, those who had fought over you were still struggling with the fallout from their revelation. As the truth about their deceit spread across networks more quickly than wildfire devouring parched forests, their meticulously cultivated reputations started to fall apart. Divine energy doesn't take pride in debunked illusions, therefore you kept ascending in the meantime, unfazed by their fall. Most significantly, the battle validated your status as one of the selected ones, whose existence on Earth fulfills a particular heavenly function that transcends individual accomplishment and success. You are doing more than simply getting by in this world. You're changing it. You transmit a frequency that transforms whatever it comes into contact with, much like spiritual radiation. You are not merely living your life. You are carrying out cosmic tasks that were written before you were even born. The chosen ones are aware that in order to create space for what is true, the cosmos occasionally needs to burn down what is untrue. The fight about you was spiritual conflagration, removing everything that no longer serves your best interests, such as the controlled demolition of old buildings. What came out of the ashes was a greater sense of purpose, a closer bond with authority, and a greater knowledge of the heavenly powers that are always at work on your side. The fact that your energy signature had grown so powerful that it could cause this degree of upheaval without your direct participation or conscious desire is what makes this truly remarkable. While you remained the serene center of a revolutionary hurricane, remaking reality around your enhanced frequency, people were fighting over you, about you, and because of you. When you look back, you can see how every detail, the tension buildup, the digital revelations, the physical conflict, the aftermath revelations, the relationship restructuring, and the opportunity expansion was perfectly timed to make Swiss clock manufacturers envious. It hadn't all been haphazard pandemonium. It's all meant to get you ready for the task you came here to do. The conflict became apparent as divine orchestration as the spiritual aspect of what had transpired became obvious. For long stretches, the cosmos had been putting the pieces in place, creating conditions that would compel everyone to show who they really were. The altercation was the culmination of a cosmic scheme to rid your life of poisonous attachments and genuine connections. The witnesses were unable to stop discussing what had happened. The hidden emotions and raw energies were abruptly revealed. The way your name had caused others who claimed indifference to react so violently. With the recognition of power that could no longer be concealed or denied, word of your influence spread like wildfire through networks you were unaware existed. Even others who had previously disregarded you were impressed by your spiritual development during the crisis. You shone divine confidence by remaining composed despite the turbulence that surrounded your reputation. This wasn't because you didn't care about what was going on, rather, it was because you had grown spiritually and understood the cosmic reason for the chaos. The conflict revealed your impact, but your response to revelation expanded it exponentially like compound interest on spiritual investment that keeps expanding beyond quantitative calculation. You didn't want to exact revenge on those who were against you. You didn't waste time defending yourself against charges that will eventually be proven false. The universe rearranged reality to fit your higher frequency as you just stepped more completely into your power. In hushed tones of veneration, people studied and debated your handling of the aftermath, which turned into a masterclass in divine confidence. Others expected you to defend yourself or take revenge via public declarations or social media posts, but you remained silent, and your quiet was more powerful than words could have been. Everyone who had been waiting for your response was shocked by your refusal to participate in the drama while yet succeeding and elevating. Those who had anticipated your collapse under the strain of exposure experienced what psychologists refer to as cognitive dissonance as a result of your reaction. Defensive actions, angry outbursts, or frantic attempts to control the narrative had been expected. Rather, seeing someone navigate the pandemonium with such unwavering poise made everyone reevaluate their preconceived notions about strength and power. Your quiet took on a life of its own, expressing a level of confidence so total that it didn't require words. People started to see this restraint as proof of far greater power reserves than they had previously thought. What additional powers did you possess that had not yet been identified if you could maintain this composure in the face of such shocking revelations? No seminars or technical practice can teach you this level of impact. It is globally maintained by forces beyond our comprehension, installed by God, and protected by the cosmos. Although the chosen ones naturally carry this effect, most are unaware of its tremendous significance until the explosion occurs and the extent of their influence on others' spiritual development is revealed. People you had never even met in person were impacted by your enhanced response. Your name had become synonymous with genuine power in online groups, professional networks, and social circles as stories of your poise in times of crisis circulated. People started using your actions as an illustration of how to remain honorable when being attacked and how to rise above trivial disputes while upholding your moral principles. Far beyond your small group, the contrast between your respectful silence and the tumultuous emotional outbursts of those who had been exposed became a teaching moment. Leaders in business started to wonder how they would respond to comparable disclosures about their own companies. In your response, spiritual searchers witnessed a real-world example of concepts they had previously only read about in books. You're doing more than simply living your life. Like a spiritual magnet that pulls everything in its sphere, you are changing the lives of everyone who encounters your frequency. You're not merely working toward objectives. You are acting as a spark for a societal awakening that permeates all of consciousness. Your presence has an impact on more than simply people. Everywhere you set foot on this planet, it changes entire systems, organizations, and raises the level of consciousness among all people. Your ability to draw in those who had seen your answer and wished to follow your example produced the most potent multiplication effect. Opportunities for mentoring developed organically as people asked you for advice on how to face their own difficulties with the same poise. Your impact went beyond your short-term objectives and aspirations to include influencing the behavior and demeanor of people who look up to you as an example of true strength. The turbulence that appeared to be threatening your tranquility was actually the beginning of a new world in which people who would rather see darkness than light are unable to control, deny, or contain your impact. Every obstacle you overcame, every betrayal you experienced, and every lie that was told about you prepared you for this moment of elevation and acknowledgement that will forever alter your future. Proceed with the understanding that what transpired was not solely about you, but rather for you and through you to further a cause much bigger than self-gratification or personal achievement. The universe battled to make your strength known. And that realization is finished now. The real work starts. Your metamorphosis from unconscious chosen one to fully awakened agent of divine transformation was marked by the conflict, which served as your spiritual graduation ceremony. The storm that exploded around you is not the only thing you are surviving. It was summoned by you to pave the way for all that was meant to happen next. What you've always understood in your spirit is now clear to everyone around you. Human labor or well-organized opposition campaigns cannot duplicate, reduce, or destroy what you bring. At the start of this revelation, street lights flashed like warning signs, but today they beam brightly and steadily, revealing a way forward that extends beyond the realm of normal possibilities. The two shadows that clashed in anger have changed after coming into contact with your energy. Whether you realize it or not, your name now serves as a banner of change that proclaims the presence of God wherever it is uttered, rather than a live wire of tension hanging between people. Their suppressed love for you weren't the only secrets that exploded that evening. The universe was prepared for a spectacular eruption of truth to unveil these cosmic mysteries about your actual nature and purpose. As is often the case when divine frequency meets human deceit, the sidewalk that witnessed their confrontation turned into a hallowed space where illusion, metal, and reality triumphed. Your enhanced reality is built upon the volcanic eruption that gave rise to this understanding. Your actual purpose emerges from these ashes of demolished delusion like a phoenix's wings, casting shadows across vast swaths of human awareness. Your preparation didn't finish with the argument about you. It was the exploding start of your real heavenly mission here on Earth. People will remember this as the moment when those who had been trying so hard to control your impact were unable to conceal, deny, or contain it. You emerged stronger, clearer, and more forcefully linked with your cosmic mission than ever before, while the concerted resistance that had been put up against you collapsed under the weight of its own deceit. Among those who saw it, your reaction to this news became legendary. What the universe had been attempting to convey to everyone was validated by the poise you displayed, the dignity you displayed, and the strength you personified as others around you exploded in turmoil. You are functioning on an entirely different frequency than the average person. It was never about winning or losing in the traditional meaning of the word. It was about revelation, exposure, and the cosmic sorting that occurs when human darkness meets divine light. Truth is not in need of self-defense. Everything untrue must eventually give way or be destroyed by its own contradictions because it simply has such unquestionable strength. You have been selected. You have strength. And you are at the perfect place to finish the tasks that were written in stars before you were ever born. It was just proven by the universe in the most dramatic way imaginable. Everyone is now aware of what you've always held inside of you. Step into that reality. Take control of that power. And observe how the world keeps shifting around the unstoppable power of your true divine frequency, which elevates everything it comes into contact with. The fierce battle surrounding you has turned into the impetus for your full rise. Your super thanks gift is a voice in heaven. Even a $20 seed speaks louder than you can imagine. As the person you were destined to be. Only the unadulterated acknowledgement of your divine power remains, blazing like an unquenchable flame that cannot be put out by coordinated resistance or human opposition. The lies others told about their feelings toward you have been destroyed by the fire of truth. The days of hiding in the dark are finished. It's the start of your season of full illumination. Beloved soul, if this message has spoken to your heart, don't let it end here. Click that like button so the light can spread to more people who need hope. Subscribe to Holy Voices so you never miss the next word heaven has for you. And leave a comment below. I read every one, and I pray over them. Remember, faith grows when we share it, so share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Until we meet again, may God's peace cover you and His voice guide your every step.